MXTV is proudly brought to you by Peter Stevens Motorcycles, QBE Insurance, Motorcycle Insurance Specialists, Fox, and Honda, the power of dreams.
Hello everyone, I'm Brendan Bell and welcome to this week's MXTV, and of course, as always, joining me is none other than Australian Supercross and Motocross star, Lee Hogan. Lee, welcome mate.
Well, thanks Belly, it's great to be back mate. I missed out on your big Coolum trip. Got to say I was a bit bummed about that, but you did a great job. I wish I had been there.
Thanks mate, we certainly missed you last week, that's for sure, but this week's show is going to be massive. Tonight we head into the desert for the Honda Hattah Desert Race. We take a look at the new Honda TRX700 XX and we can't wait to see what the Fro can do on that. Factory Matt checks out some new gear from Barkbusters and we meet a couple of new faces when Rod Lay takes us through a trail riding tip. And Ian Macca McGregor catches up with an old mate in the first of our Blokes and Their Bikes segments for the year. Plenty to get through, Lee.
Yes we do Belly. But first up, we're off to the Hattah, where we caught up with some famous faces doing one of the most difficult desert races in Australia.
The Honda Hattah Desert Race is now in its 11th year. It's had a massive growth spurt over the last 12 months. We had about 240 or 250 entries last year. We're well over the 350 mark this year. And I guess the core part of the event is today, Sunday's 4-hour race non-stop, the Mallee Scrub.
Well, we've caught up with Australia's #1 off-road rider. Of course, it's none other than GHR Honda rider, AJ. First time at Hattah, mate. How you feeling just before you get out there?
Yeah, I feel good. I'm just getting ready now, getting my camel packs and goggles ready.
Have you done much like desert racing before?
No, none really. I had to go at Fink once, 8 years ago on a 125, and I didn't even make it past Deepwell. So this is a new challenge for me. AFL legend Tony Lockett. Tony, welcome to MXTV, and what are you doing at Hattah, mate?
I don't know, mate, tell you the truth, but just here to have a bit of fun, and it's a great atmosphere. Yeah, a lot of people, and looking forward to it. I reckon it's going to be, going to be a great day.
You got the big 450. It looks like a little 80cc underneath a guy like yourself. You can see we're all jockeys. Is that part of the plan today, muscle the bike around?
Oh, I don't know about mate. There's no problem with the bike. The rider's the problem, mate. Look, mate, I'm just going to do my best. Just get out there and just have fun with it, mate. I'm not too serious with it. No strategy, just keep out of trouble. Hopefully keep on the bike and finish, mate.
What's the plan today, mate? Flat out for the first 2 laps or the whole way?
Yeah, I don't think I ever have a plan. It's just get out there and see what happens.
Congratulations on today. Fantastic effort. Give us a bit of a rundown in 4 hours of riding in this stuff.
Mate, it's tough. The 2-hour mark, you can get to the 2-hour mark, and if everything's going good, 9 times out of 10 you feel good both mentally and physically. You can normally carry right through to the 4-hour mark, but it's a 2-hour mark where your head starts thumping, your back starts hurting because you're always getting kicked up the butt all the time down some of those fast straights, and also the track really starts getting chopped out and starts really getting rough, and you've got to be really smart. You've got to be on your game. You let your guard down, it'll bite you. But 4 hours, it's one of the toughest races, if not the toughest race I've ever done. It's tough.
Well, mate, I tell you what, I did the Hattah a couple of years ago and I was knackered. It was a tough race, but it was good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the toughest part of the race?
Oh, geez, I tell you what, I reckon it'd have to be riding in the sand for 4 hours. I could have done with some sand lessons before I went.
I think I know someone that can give you some sand tips. Shane Boyd, maybe, not me. Anyway, now we've got Rod Lay. For all you trail bike riders out there, he's got a tip for you guys. Let's check it out.
G'day, I'm Rod Lay, and for today's trail riding tip, we're going to take a good look at braking. It's important that all riders understand that brakes, like all our controls, aren't simply on-off switches, and that we can feed in the amount of power that best suits our circumstances on each different occasion we're braking. The general idea is to stop as quickly as possible. You should use only enough brake so that the wheels slow you down but don't lock up and start to skid. The minute your wheels actually start to skid, they're actually less effective at slowing you down. So you want to use just enough brake so that you slow down in a controlled manner but don't skid at all. The front brake generally is by far the most effective brake on a motorcycle, particularly going downhill when the weight of the bike is pushing down on the front wheel, giving it much more traction. Conversely, going downhill, the rear wheel actually has very little braking effect and in fact can work against you by being easy to lock up, which then can cause lack of control. Back brakes can be quite tricky to use properly. It's really important to use a back brake in a smooth and controlled manner. The last thing we want to do is lock up the back brake so that your rear wheel either skids or it chatters. It upsets the balance of the suspension, can throw you sideways and can cause a loss of control. So we need to be really smooth applying the back brake. If your brakes lock up and it's either front or rear, what you need to do is release your pressure on the lever and then smoothly reapply the brakes so that you can continue to stop. You want to avoid jerky grabbing motions where you let go of the brake quickly and then grab another handful or footful of brake. When you're braking, your weight will tend to be thrown forwards, and it's important that you brace yourself a bit by having your elbows up and bend a little bit, and so you can brace yourself against the pressures driving you forwards. It's important to learn to brake in a smooth and controlled manner, not only so that you can enjoy your riding better and be safer, but it also minimises the damage to the tracks off-road. Tracks can be susceptible to damage easily by people hooning around, improperly using brakes, particularly the rear brake, and doing big skids. That can lead to track degradation, and that's one thing we'd like to avoid. This tip is aimed at anyone who rides any sort of motorbike. Any idiot can go fast, but the ones who can slow down safely so that they stay alive, they're the ones who know what's going on. So really, all of us need to be able to use our brakes in a safe and sensible manner so that we can continue to enjoy riding our bikes into the future.
Be first on Honda's all-new, lighter, faster, fuel-injected CRF 450R. First across the line on the 09 CRF 250R and CRF 150R. Be race ready with your free toolbox.
How much fun can you have on a Honda? This much fun! Ride out on your new Honda Fun Bike in Set Up Camp with a free fun pack. Plus, there's a bonus $400 cashback on the CRF 50 and no application fee on Honda Finance. Hurry, because when they're gone, they've gone.
MXTV is proudly supported by GT Bicycles, Dunlop, Alpine Stars, Pro Circuit, Motul, Scott Goggles, and Suzuki.
Welcome back to MXTV. Well, Lee, we had an unbelievable response to the introduction of the Fro doing the tests last week. Now, our biggest question yet is, who's the Fro? It isn't you, is it, mate?
Well, no, Belly, I can guarantee you it isn't me. I put in an application. I guess I made the top 100, but when it come down to the final 10, I was nowhere to be seen. Thought you might have been able to put your hand up for me and, I don't know, pull some strings.
Oh, mate, that's the calibre of the Fro. If he's got in front of you, then he's a decent rider.
Oh, mate, I must say he's pretty quick, that's for sure. Now, Belly, I saw you had your hand up very high and there was no problem getting your butt on one of these seats, was there?
Straight away, mate. If there's a bike to be ridden, I'll be there. Now, let's go and have a look at the four-wheeler.
In this week's MXTV bike review, we take a look at the TRX700 XX from Honda. The XX is a high-end TRX model, incorporating some dazzling technological innovations that not only set it apart from other manufacturers' four-wheel drive products, but also might just help shape the future of sporting ATVs. The XX is powered by an entirely new liquid-cooled 686cc single that was modelled after Honda's ultra-reliable XR650R off-road motorcycle power plant. It comes with both fuel injection and electric start, which allows the rider to fire up the engine with the turn of a key and a simple push of a button. Power is transmitted to the 11-inch rear aluminium wheels via a 5-speed transmission, including reverse, and an innovative centre-mounted chain drive. In fact, the unique chain drive is a key design component Honda specifically engineered in order to meet the 700's design goals. Up front, the independent double wishbone suspension consists of long travel steel arms, dampened via unique dual-stage shock absorbers, which is the first of its kind for Honda. The suspension's impressive articulation keeps all 4 tyres in contact with the ground and helps capitalise on traction provided from the grippy rear tyres. While braking is courtesy of dual hydraulic disc brakes recessed within the 10-inch aluminium front wheels. The TRX700XX retails for around $12,790. It's available now. For the best bike insurance packages available, make sure you contact QBE Insurance, the motorbike insurance specialists. Honda reckons this sports quad features the largest, most powerful 4-stroke single they've ever produced. But there's only one way to find out what it's really all about. Let's check out what our test drivers had to say.
Well, when Honda first said to me they were going to give me a TRX700 four-wheeler, I thought, why? I don't want a four-wheeler. But I tell you what, since we got it out here and had a bit of a go around, it's been good fun. This thing, rocket ship. It's got a lot of peak and it's got a real lot of burst of power, but once you actually get past that, it drives quite well and it tracks really well too. You know, as an intermediate rider, I was a little bit skeptical jumping on it at the start, but once I started riding it with the suspension that it's got and the power that it has, it's unbelievable. So it's really good fun. You can get it to do a bit of sliding quite easily, and just even compression lockup, it'll start sliding. So it's a bit of fun. For the avid four-wheeler, this thing's a beast. Take it to the beach and this thing would just rip sand dunes apart, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, look, I've done a little bit of racing on quads a couple of years ago on the Yamaha Raptors. This one's now a 700, Honda 700. Amazing amount of power. Look, it's not hard, but you do need to be quite aware of the torque and the power that it's got. The motors are getting so big. Huge amounts of torque, huge amounts of suspension, and it's very, very torquey and easy to ride. Tracks straight, very, very smooth and comfortable for a big bike. It does feel like it has a lot of power, but it is fairly restricted with the muffler. So I think, you know, with a bit of personal tweaking here and there, it would be a real handful, but you can notice it. You definitely can notice that it's injected. It's a different feel to the carburetor. Yeah, look, the suspension is fantastic. It's got so much travel. It just turns nicely, it handles nicely, it steers straight, it doesn't swing out of corners. It was really comfortable to ride. Overall, I tell you, if you had the money and the land, you'd just buy one. They're just so much fun. You know, so much fun to ride.
It's time to let the fro go!
Whoa, a 258 for the TRX700 XX, landing it just behind the CRF 450R. Not a bad result, but let's see how it goes on the Fro quarter mile. Well, surprisingly, a 9:36 for the TRX700 XX, but the fro not getting the best of starts, and the 200 metres probably not quite enough for the big girl to really open up. Yes, the fro was certainly on the money there again, but I think he took a few wide lines around some of those jumps, and somebody that knows all about wide lines is a man who's joining us for the first time this year. Of course, it's our enduro boy, Dave Robbins. Dave, welcome to MXTV again for the first time, mate.
It is, first time this year, thanks for having me.
No, not a problem at all, mate. We're here for the 2008 Australian Off-Road Championships, and a big surprise this year. AJ, of course, 3 years in a row he's taken it out, but this year it went to Chris Hollis. Great job by him.
It was. It sort of come down to the wire a little bit, and yeah, AJ, obviously, as you mentioned, 3 years in a row. He was sort of always going to be up against it though this year. Just before the season, a couple of weeks out, he broke his leg, so you know, it's always hard, and I've just done the same thing, so I know exactly how he felt. But yeah, the Ballards boys with Hollis and Bewley, being teammates and obviously training a hell of a lot together, they sort of set the pace early on in the year and caught everyone by surprise a little bit. Like Hollis won the first 6 rounds, and that's what AJ had done in previous years, and he sort of paved the way from there, so he did very well, yeah.
And really, as you said, really made AJ work for his money, unfortunately. And what about the ex-motocross rider, first year in, Peter Boyle, of course, with GHR Honda? He did a fantastic job coming in 4th, didn't he?
He did. He sort of came into it late last year and only did a few rounds and managed to beat AJ where previous guys hadn't been able to do that.
That's
so
right.
yeah, to have a first full year at it and with the GHR team, he did very well. He's saying next year he might go up to a 450 to really go for the outright. I mean, he sort of had the E1 class, the 254 stroke. He was the standout rider in that. But he doesn't look like a big guy, but he can certainly hang on to him. Yeah.
And of course, the old fella, Kirk Hattah, coming in at the top 10. That's a great effort for him for so many years of riding as well.
Yeah, well, that's he just gets better with age. Like the last few years he's won his class at the Australian 4-Day, and this year moved to the E3 class. Had a big bore YZ 252 stroke, and yeah, he was just very consistent and got it done all year.
And it was great to see our little Ben Carney up there as well on the KTM. He seems to put in consistent years, year after year, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. And the races between him and Boyle and the other guys in that class, yeah, they were very good, yeah, definitely.
Some of the other standouts through the year, of course, Blake Hawke coming up, and I think he was really shooting for a much higher position last year, finishing, I think, 7th, was it?
Yep.
In the Australian Off-Road Championships, and I think he had his sights set on a lot higher this year. What were some of the things that happened with Blake this year?
Just the quality of the riders improved. Every year it gets better. Like AJ set a precedent a few years ago, right, and then everyone stepped up to that level. AJ went up again from there, and the same thing happened this year. You can tell who's been training in the off-season and who hasn't, and really how hungry people are at the start of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it'd be interesting to see next year. Blake is one of the guys that's moving ship. He's going from Yamaha to Husqvarna of all bikes.
Hasselberg.
Hasselberg, yes.
There's a few different bums on different seats next year. With Blake, he's going to ride for Hasselberg, Australia, with Adam Lees and Shannon Lurie. One of the bigger ones, Stefan Merriman, will be back in Australia racing for Ballards Yamaha.
Yes, and that's going to be a big thing. That'll really shake up the Australian Off-Road Series next year to have a world-class rider come back home.
It will, definitely. Like a name like that, I mean, everyone knows him, but he's not going to have it easy, I think, because all the other guys in Australia have definitely picked up the pace from when he came back a couple of years ago and stuff to win the 4-Day. He's going to have his work cut out, but obviously he's a world champion, so he's not going to be a slouch for sure. It's going to be a good one to watch next year.
Well, Robbo, let's go through the results. 1st, 2nd and 3rd for the Pro class. And of course, 3rd place went to Jared Bewley from the Ballards Yamaha team. 2nd place to GHR Honda rider, AJ Roberts. And of course, 1st place, Robbo, fantastic effort by the Ballards Yamaha rider, Chris Hollis. Fantastic job, mate.
He did very well. Should be on your training program over summer, and he might go again next year, maybe.
You'll need a 450 if he's on my training program, let me tell you. All right, Robbo, that's about it for the 2008 Australian Off-Road Championship. Thanks very much for coming in, mate.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming in. Of course, we'll see Robbo later on in the year. We've got the Australian 4-Day Enduro Series and, of course, the Victorian Enduro Series to go through, so there's plenty to talk about. Yep. And just before we go, mate, you're not the fro, are you?
Not me, mate. Not at all.
Yeah, well, I didn't think so. You're not that quick.
Have you seen? Have the camera seen you, right?
They have. I'm lightning fast. Anyway, guys, we'll see you right after this.
The Green Machine has a new team on Elizabeth Street, the new Peter Stevens City Store, with a complete range of Kawasaki road, trail and sports bikes, plus a crew of dedicated Kawasaki staff on hand to help you. Isn't it time you made the trip into Peter Stevens Kawasaki? You know what to do. Do it quick. Give them a call or check out the website at www.peterstevens.com.au. And remember, normal people go shopping, bike people go to Peter Stevens.
Hi gang, Factory Matt back for another product review. This week we take a sneak peek at the latest handguard from Barkbuster, the versatile VPS. Anyone who rides an off-road motorcycle would surely know of the legendary Australian-made Barkbuster handguards which have been keeping riders' hands safe since 1984. The latest on the market is the new VPS Barkbuster handguard. Whether it be supercross, motocross, super motard or bashing through the bush in enduro, this handguard can be fully set up to keep your hands protected whatever you do. One of the best features of the VPS handguard is the ability to fully set it up and customise it to suit your riding discipline. The VPS handguard is supplied with a variable height wind deflector to give you additional protection from the elements, which is fully removable. And particularly for you super motard riders, the VPS skid plate, which is designed for the super motard rider, it protects the outer edge of the aluminium bar in case you find yourself sliding down the bitumen. Another variation for the VPS handguard is to fit it to ATVs where it is solely mounted on the end of the handlebar. This is fantastic because it eliminates the need for an internal bar clamp. One of the best things about the VPS Barkbuster handguard is their handlebar mounting clamp. The swivel design of the connecting arm adjusts to fit the shape of the handlebar so it fits up correctly every time. You can also get a variety of model-specific mounting kits to fit many of the popular adventure touring bikes. For more information on the VPS Barkbusters product, check out their website at www.barkbusters.net. We'll see you again for another product review. Until then, remember, if it comes from Factory Matt, it's got to be good. It's factory.
Yes, thanks to Factory Matt there. Now, a new segment that we've got this year is called Blokes and Their Bikes, and it's all about you and the bikes in your shed. Our good friend Ian Macca McGregor knows all about bikes and all about sheds. So let's see who he's caught up with this week.
G'day, my name's Macca and welcome to Blokes and Their Bikes. I'm at Alan Hoon's house. He's an old mate of mine, so let's go and see if he's in. You there, Hooney?
Oh, Macca, how are we going?
Good, mate. How you going?
I'm going good. How are you?
Mate, want to check out a few of your old bikes?
Of course you can. Come in.
No worries. Oh, wow, mate. Have a look at this. This is absolutely sensational. What have we got here, mate?
Well, what we've got in the shed, we've got a 1986 CR250RG here, and over here I've got my 2005 KTM 300.
Okay. Mate, very impressive shed. How long have you been racing bikes for?
Well, I've been racing bikes probably for coming up close to 30 years, I suppose, and enjoying every minute of it.
Now, we also know that you did a bit of speedway in your time too.
I decided that I wanted to try everything in the dirt discipline of motorcycles, and speedway was something I'd like to have a go at. So I bought a bike and had a bit of a crack at it for about 4 or 5 years, and then I sold it, unfortunately. I wish I'd still had it to this day. Parted with everything but the leathers. I couldn't bear to get rid of them, so I wanted to keep them.
Having a good look around your shed here, mate, I see you've got a microfiche over there, which we'll have a look at in a minute. Mate, you've got a welder, you've got an oxy, you've got air compressor. Where's the beer fridge?
Well, the beer fridge died,
what's the beer? There's no beer fridge in here.
There's not enough room for the beer fridge.
There's always room for the beer. Yeah. Have you time from here to the fridge in the kitchen? How far is?
I can usually ring the missus and she'll just tell me in no uncertain terms, get it yourself, but it's not a long trip, so it's not too far to go and get one.
Excellent, no worries. I don't know if many people would know about a microfiche, but all the old guys who ride old bikes, this is a really good tool. And this is what they used to use in bike shops and so forth. And it's actually called a microfiche reader. And it blows up and it tells you all different parts. And so it's really handy if you buy a bike and it's in 1,000 pieces, you can actually go, oh, okay, yeah, that goes there because that says it on the little picture there. Now, this is a bike we've actually come to see. This is a CR500. What made you get a CR500, mate? Because in their day, you had to be a real man, and you're no real man.
In the day, I was a 250 rider, and I never had a 500. And when I turned 40, I think I went through a midlife crisis, and still going through it now, and decided I never had a 500, and I better get one. It's one of those things on the list. So,
how long have you had this?
Well, I bought this in late 2005 and it was a rough bike when I bought it. I got it for $2,000. I beat the guy down.
Yep.
And I spent probably 3 months going over everything except for the engine and did a safety check on it. And like all old bikes, they're missing lots of spaces and dodgy engineering, and self-tappers have been placed where there should have been bolts, and then took it and did 2 seasons on it. And then I rebuilt the motor.
Now, a couple of months ago, we were riding out at Blue Rock, and Hooney here was going up the main straight, and a big puff of smoke come out of the bike, and we've gone, oh no, what's this? I've had a look underneath the bike, and I've gone, oh no, and there was a hole that big in the bottom of the motor. So since then, it's had a complete rebuild?
It has had a new rebuild, so I had to get some parts off eBay in the US. I managed to get another set of crankcases and a crankshaft for it. Also, top end needed to be recode. So I was disappointed on the day, but that's racing, I suppose. So it's cost you too much money to spit the dummy. You've just got to take it on the chin and move on, I think.
Parts and so forth, where do you source parts and stuff?
Some new old stock parts are still available through Honda, but like most guys that are into old bikes, you'll find that the internet's your best source. There's some aftermarket parts you can still gain through some companies, but mainly eBay.
Now, what's your favourite bike that you've had?
I'd probably say that 250, that CR250RG that I've had for many years. At the moment, this is my favourite. I'm getting a big buzz out of riding the 500, but of all time, it'd be that 250 because I've used that for everything. Dirt track, motocross, trail rides, enduros, desert races. So it's been a very versatile bike. I've been able to set up for everything.
What's one of your most memorable moments in riding?
There's lots of memorable moments. I think the main buzz for me has always been getting out with the boys and enjoying the bikes with like-minded people.
Yep.
I've never really chased trophies or money or anything out of that. It's just been a fun sort of sport.
Now the question's probably that everyone wants to know, how much does it cost you? I won't tell the missus.
Well, I suppose I start off with 2,000. I suppose it probably owes me all up now, getting up around 5.5. I didn't take track of all the costs because it gets too scary and then you start backing off when you do that. So, but I think it probably owes me about 5.5 for a bike that you could probably sell now for about somewhere between 3.5 and 4. I think if the right buyer comes along.
Okay, mate. Thanks very much for showing us your bike and your shed.
Macca.
Absolutely sensational. And for being part of the first Blokes and Their Bikes segment. You'll get some nice goodies from our lovely sponsors, King Chrome. Now, mate, any chance of me taking this out next weekend?
Well, I don't think so, Mega. I've seen you ride, mate, and I don't think you're up to the task, to be honest. So
Fair enough, all right.
You should have known the answer.
Yeah, maybe next time. Okay, that wraps it up for this week. We'll see you next week. And remember, if it's classic, it's fantastic.
Great little setup he's got there, Lee, and a couple of nice Hondas to boot.
Mate, I love riding those old bikes. They're an absolute blast. Now, actually, my old team manager at KTM, and he's the big head honcho there at the moment, Jeff Leask, won the 85 Mr. Motocross Championships on one of those things.
That's right, mate, a fair while ago, that's for sure. And you might be somebody out there that's got a great bike in their shed that we might want to see. Well, why don't you drop us a line at info@mxtv.com.au, and you never know, Macca might turn up at your door. Well, that's about it, Lee, for this week. We'll see you next week, of course.
Wouldn't miss it. Back in the saddle now. Can't wait to get back again.
Yeah, good to see you back, mate. And thank you all for watching MXTV this week. We'll see you next week, but until then, ride safe.
MXTV was proudly brought to you by Peter Stevens Motorcycles, QBE Insurance, Motorcycle Insurance Specialists, Fox, and Honda, the power of dreams.